What's going on YouTube? This is Jabber Tech. If you're in the market for a smartwatch, the likelihood of you choosing between a WearOS platform or the Tizen platform is pretty high, especially if you have an Android phone. If you're on iPhone, both of these will work, but the compatibility will be somewhat limited. So I'm not going to discuss these features with the iPhone. This is mainly for us Android users. And also, it's just mainly a discussion between which platform might be right for you. Both of these have pluses and minuses, but both of these are really excellent smartwatches. Let's get into comparison between Mobvoi's Ticwatch Pro 4G and the Samsung Galaxy Watch 46mm together. We're going to talk about a few things in this review. We're going to talk about the design, smoothness or lag on both of these devices, battery life, app support, as well as fitness tracking. If you want to know more about these watches, I've done full review, in-depth reviews of both of them. Just check my video link description down in the description where you'll find all the links and also some really cool links if you want to switch up the bands, because both of these watches use 22mm style bands, so you can get really creative with it. And just on a side note, this is not the official bezel that came with the Samsung Galaxy Watch. This is an accessory that I've added. I'll also leave that link down in the description below. This is from Rinky and it's a bezel style kit that sits right on top of the existing bezel. So that's the only thing that I've changed apart from these pretty cool watch bands, so you can change up the look and kind of suit it towards your needs. But let's get into this review and let's start with the overall design of both of these watches. Starting with the Samsung Galaxy Watch, the main specifications that you want to know: it runs Samsung's own Exynos processor. It has a 472 mAh battery in here. The screen is a 1.3-inch AMOLED panel, which is really vibrant. That's what we expect from Samsung. You also get 5 ATM and swim ready on this watch as well, so no issues taking this for a swim. Or if you get caught in the rain, there is a speaker and microphone. Your heart rate monitor is right on the back there as well. You have 22mm replaceable bands, and the key feature to this watch that a lot of people really love is this rotating bezel. If you live in colder climates, your hands are wet, whatever the case may be, this rotating bezel really comes in handy, and you can rotate between any of the screens. You can rotate between anything. It pretty much acts as your navigation tool if you don't want to use your finger, so this way you don't smudge up your screen if you don't want to. On the side you have two buttons, so you have a select and a back button, and one of them acts as your power button. You can also assign the bottom button to access anything that you want. It also comes in 42mm, which you can get in all black or gold. Check my link down below if you're interested in that as well, but the 46mm edition is only offered in this one color. Built into the watch, you have NFC, so that means you have Samsung Pay built into here. So mobile payments on the go, really not an issue. This is running Samsung's Tizen software, and it's very smooth, it's very fluid. There's no issues right out of the gate since day one. This has been a snappy smartwatch, and it has Wi-Fi built in, it has GPS, it has fitness tracking, it has everything you'd want from a smartwatch of this caliber, a flagship smartwatch. So the OS, if you know how to use a phone, you're going to be able to figure this out really quickly. Inside, you can also use Samsung Pay. You do not have Google Pay, and although there is a way to put the Google Assistant on here, your main assistant is always going to be Bixby, which, love it or hate it, it's here on the watch. Now let's take a look at Mobvoi's Ticwatch Pro 4G. The main improvement this year over the last year's edition is the overall styling and the extra ½ GB of RAM. The old one had 512. This new edition, while it still does have the Wear 2100 processor in here, they've boosted up the memory to 1 GB, and let me tell you, that's made a world of difference. Who knew that WearOS just needed a bump in RAM to actually make it fluid and smooth? That's what they've put in here, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But the overall design of the Ticwatch Pro 4G has really been updated to look a little bit more modern than last year's edition, and I think they did a nice job with the gnarled edges over here, and the same on the actual button. They put a lot of detail into the smartwatch, and it really does show. It does not have any rotating bezel or a rotating crown, just has two buttons on it, so this is the only way that you can navigate through the watch is with your finger or selecting with one of these buttons. The Ticwatch Pro also has a really beautiful screen at 1.39 inches, but it also has a trick. It has a dual layer technology screen. It has an LCD panel right on top of that AMOLED panel, and this is going to save you some battery life, so you'll always be able to know the time. It'll show you the date, track your steps, and the battery life right down there. But the screen itself is a really beautiful AMOLED panel as well. It is a polycarbonate build with a stainless steel bezel and an aluminum back with that heart rate monitor right over there. And while the Samsung Watch charges wirelessly wirelessly. This one will charge with pogo pins, so you cannot just plop this on a wireless charger. I'm hoping to see that later on in the future. Inside you have 415 milliamp hour for the battery, and you also have a IP68 rating, but it is rated for pool swimming, so you can take this in the pool and do your laps. This also has a speaker and microphone. As you can see right down there, there's your little speaker port. Both of these watches have ambient light sensors in them, so it will automatically brighten or dim the screen depending on your surroundings. And the Ticwatch Pro, even though it does have that dual layer technology, you can disable it and just show a nice always on display of your favorite watch face. And the same goes for the Samsung watch. Both of these watches are in their always on display mode right now. Both of these devices have all the flagship premium sensors in here, so you get GPS, you get Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, etc. And the OS on both of them are really smooth. You have widgets on the Samsung Tizen platform, which shows you pretty much like an overview of certain things. And Google just released Tiles, which is pretty much the same thing. The Tiles are pretty limited right now in basic form, so I'd give the win to Samsung for that. They really knew how to create something that people would want to use and make it a lot easier to interact with the watch without having to go through a lot of steps and clicks. But both of them are pretty similar. If you swipe down, you get some toggles so you can quickly act on certain things, quickly go to the settings, turn Wi-Fi on, turn on your payment systems, NFC, etc. And if you get any notifications, you do have to rotate to the left on the Samsung watch, and that'll show you your notifications, or you just swipe to the left and that'll show you notifications. On Google, if you swipe to the left, you get access to the Google Assistant, and if you swipe up, that's where you see all of your notifications right down there. So a little bit different, but really the same in terms of functionality. Let's discuss battery life on both of these, because that's really huge when you have a wearable. Now the Samsung watch here charges with a very nice wireless charger. You can just place it on there and it's good to go. You don't have to worry about finding the pogo pins and making sure that it clicked in. The Ticwatch Pro here does use pogo pins. I really wish they'd switch to wireless charging. It just makes it a lot easier. But the magnet that it comes with is pretty strong and it clicks in without any issue. But battery life on both of these is a little bit different, a little bit tricky. They both offer power saving modes, so they both can last you really an extended amount of time, almost a month if you turn on power saving mode on both of these. But you just won't have the fun and enjoyment of a smartwatch. But it just means that you won't have a brick on your wrist if you do run out of power. You'll always be able to tell the time. And that's one thing that you really should be able to tell on a smartwatch is the time. Battery life on the Galaxy Watch 46mm, and again, this all depends, it all changes on people's usage. If you're using Wi-Fi a lot, if you're constantly using this to take phone calls, because taking a phone call on these watches will really eat up a lot of battery. If you're running using GPS, that eats up a lot of battery. But if you're just using it as a smartwatch to get notifications, make a couple phone calls throughout the day, the Galaxy Watch 46mm will last you about 3 days on a charge. At least for me, that's what it lasts, about 3 days. Now again, this watch is about a year old right now, so 3 days is still really, really good. With the Samsung watch, you have a couple options. This is the power saving mode, which saves you just a little bit of juice, turns everything to grayscale, so you will not see your beautiful watch faces, but you'll see the time, the date. You'll also see the amount of steps that you've walked, and you can customize it to show you certain notifications if you want. And then if you really want to be basic, what you have to do is go into what they call watch only mode, and this is just going to show you the time, nothing else, and you can see the difference. This will give me 33 days of battery life, whereas power saving will give me 5 days. On the Ticwatch Pro 4G here, battery life is pretty much the same as it was last year. I'm getting about a day and a half to 2 days depending on my usage. But on average, I get about 2 days of battery life on the Ticwatch Pro. Again, there are some battery saving tricks that you can do on this, and one of those tricks is this dual layer screen here. So if you really just want to leave this on, you can get about 30 days of battery life, and it shows you the time, the date, your steps, and your battery right down there. But this just means on both of these watches, whether it's 2 days, 3 days, 4, 5, whatever the case may be, you always have a power saving mode to make sure that you make it through the day, to make sure that no matter what time it is, no matter where you are, you can always just tell the time, and that's a plus on a smartwatch. So really, if you're thinking about one of these watches really just over battery life, an extra day is not going to make a huge difference if it's not really something that you want. If you're really more into the ecosystem of the Google WearOS platform, or if you really like the look of the Samsung watch, it really is all subjective. It really depends on your needs. So although these watches might seem like they're very similar, they're actually pretty different in a lot of ways. And one of those differences lies in app support. Although Tizen has really gotten a lot better with their apps, they really don't have the support that wearOS platform has, just because the wearOS is a Google platform, so that you do have compatibility with more and more apps. And while a lot of people say you don't need a ton of apps on your smartwatch, and I can usually agree with them, I can generally agree with that statement. Say for example, I want to open up my security cameras. I do not have an app for that on this watch. I'm also limited to my streaming services. I can only really use Spotify on the Samsung Tizen platform. That's really the only service that you can have on this watch and that you can stream from directly. I would have liked to have seen Pandora. I would have liked to have seen Play Music, although Play Music's a little bit of a stretch. But with the partnerships between Samsung and Google, I think they really should integrate a Play Music app into the Tizen platform. But that's really just nitpicking, but it is worth noting that if you do have a favorite app, say music, you probably will not be able to use it on the Tizen platform. Another thing that you might not be able to use, your favorite fitness tracking application. I use Runtastic a lot, and that's just not present on the Samsung watch as of right now. So really, you do not need a ton of apps, but when you want to use your favorite app, I can almost guarantee it's not going to be available here. Although app support is getting a lot better on this, it's just not up to par with the wearOS platform as of yet. But you do have a ton of other apps that you can do. There are a lot of games on here. You also have a lot of watch faces. Both of these devices, you can have watch faces for days and months. Just download to your heart's content. I think it would be a win-win for every company just to get out there, just to talk to developers and get them to develop apps for their specific platform. That's just win for everybody. Samsung sells more watches. We buy more watches. Developers make money. You see how it goes. It goes round and round. One hand washes the other. The wearOS platform in general is going to give you a ton of app support. You can choose what fitness apps you want to use. You can choose what music apps. So I have Pandora on here. I also have Spotify. Of course, I have Google Play Music. That comes stock here. I also like the ability to just open up my security camera application and just check my cameras really quickly. So if I get an alert on my phone, which then sends it over to my watch, I can quickly just open up my TinyCam application, check out what I need to check out, and keep it moving. So while you do not need a ton of apps, but when you do need an app, it really would be nice to have it on your wearable device. If there is a favorite app that you want to use before you buy one of these watches, definitely check it out first. Reach out to the developer or just check online and see if there is support, because when you do want to use your favorite app and it's not available, that's just going to ruin your day and make you not enjoy the watch as much as you should. One way that these watches differ in terms of their operating systems is the Assistant. Now, while you can put the Google Assistant on the Samsung watch, I did a video on that. Check that out if you want to see it. Having Google Assistant built in natively is something that's really more useful, something that if you're into the Google ecosystem pretty heavily, this is really going to be your better option. I think the Google Assistant really works well on a watch. So let me just show you a quick comparison. Who's the President of the United States?
The President of the United States of America is Donald Trump. The answer to your question.
I do not know why she can't find the answer to the question. What's the weather today?
Today in New York City, Thursday we'll have some sunshine with a forecasted high of 74 and a low of 64 degrees Fahrenheit.
How tall is the Empire State Building?
The Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
In terms of having a really good assistant, I'd give the edge to the Ticwatch Pro 4G here. You cannot beat the Google Assistant. No one can deny that fact, and that's not any different if it's on your phone or on your wrist. The Google Assistant just gives you answers to questions. Now, whether or not you use it, that's really up to you. I use this on a daily basis. I like to get directions. I like to know what time stores close or open. So, for example, where's the closest Starbucks?
Starbucks locations near you.
And it'll show you a nice little picture. It'll show you different locations. Then if you click on one, it'll give you more information. So it'll show me that it closes at 10 p.m. It'll also show me the open and close times every day of the week. And then you can quickly navigate to it. It'll open up Google Maps right away. And this is what I mean by functionality. It'll show you the actual map here and show you how to go. It'll give you prompts on when to turn, etc., etc. You really can't beat the integration when it comes to the wearOS platform, and with that extra gig of RAM in the Ticwatch Pro 4G, super snappy. A lot of people will pick up one of these smartwatches for fitness because they don't want just a fitness tracking device. They want something that's more functional, something that's definitely more stylish. I think you could wear either one of these watches at the gym, at the office, or on a hot date without looking like a geek and a nerd. Both of these watches a lot of times don't even look like smartwatches when you just have that always on display on. So both of these, whether you'd like one styling over the other, let me know down in the comments below which one you think looks a little bit more stylish. Both of these will fit either need if you're at the gym or if you're at the office. In terms of fitness tracking, there's a little bit of a difference between both of them. And I'm not talking about app support, I'm talking about GPS and overall tracking abilities in general. When I originally bought this watch, I had a lot of issues with tracking, and not just with my favorite app not being able to work with it, just with the overall tracking from the watch itself. The heart rate tracking was just a little bit off, and to this day, people really report that the heart rate monitor does not work, that during certain activities it will not track your heart rate, it will not record your beats per minute. It just kind of goes flat and then comes back and spikes. So a lot of people have a lot of issues with the Galaxy Watch in terms of the heart rate monitor on the back, and I think Samsung knows this because they've really pushed that they have a new sensor on the upcoming Galaxy Watch 2 that's going to do a lot better in terms of tracking your heart rate. But for me, my issue with this watch has always been with GPS. Now, they have pushed a lot of updates with GPS on this, but sometimes it just doesn't lock on if you're in an urban environment. I live in New York City. I go to Central Park quite a lot, and sometimes when I'm under trees and whatnot, this will just not track. It just will not do a good job, and I have those issues still to this day. So in terms of tracking, this might not be the best fitness watch to get. If you want to use one device for overall fitness tracking, you might want to look somewhere else. Now again, they have updated it. It has been a lot better. It has gotten a lot better. But still, GPS can be a little bit iffy for me, and people still complain about the heart rate monitor. People also complain about step tracking. I don't have a super accurate way to track steps. Every watch that I wear gives me a different amount when I wear one with my Garmin versus this one, or when I wear this one versus the Ticwatch, or the Ticwatch with the Garmin, or the Amazfit, whatever the case is, they all give me different numbers, so I really don't know an accurate way to really figure out how many steps I've actually walked. As long as I get a general idea, I'm usually pretty happy. The Ticwatch Pro 4G, on the other hand, has no issues with GPS. It locks on really quickly. It's really accurate in and around trees, etc., etc. I've never had any issues with the GPS tracking on the Ticwatch Pro, and the same goes for the heart rate monitoring. No issues with the heart rate monitor and the Ticwatch Pro in general. They've always excelled at really good heart rate monitoring and really good GPS chips. Fitness and tracking aside, because if you're super into fitness, chances are you'll have a Garmin watch, or you'll have a Polar, you'll have something that was designed to be a fitness watch. These watches in general are designed to be a smartwatch first with fitness second, and that's a huge distinction for you guys to remember. So no matter which one you choose, no matter which ecosystem you really want to be heavily integrated into, you're going to be really happy, as these are both excellent smartwatches. We are Android users, and thankfully we do get a lot of options. So no matter which styling you think looks the best, no matter which smartwatch you think looks better for you, we do have options, and that's what's great about being on Android. We do have options that we can choose from. But let me know down in the comments below which one you prefer. Do you prefer the Mobvoi Ticwatch Pro 4G, or do you prefer the Samsung Galaxy Watch 46mm? Either way, I always like to know your opinion, and I really appreciate you guys watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.